Hang on. Not there yet. Give me 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. I'm being directed. This is our director.
All right.
Good morning. It's such a fantastic party this morning. It's great. There's so much going on in Chattanooga. I'm not sure how many people. That's great. Is there anybody here for the first time? That's it. How did you hear about us? A friend told you? Okay. Anybody read the newspaper or whatever?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. I'll have to keep up with that. That's my newspaper person. She needs to know that these are big. Well, I'm Carol Matthews, and this is a program being presented by the Hamilton County Master Gardeners. We have Skeeter Gallagher over here. She's our production manager with everything. We got Clyde Matthews, my husband, back in the back. He's also a Master Gardener. He's one check at you in. And I'll introduce our speaker and her husband in just a moment. But we have a special thing today. Somebody is having her day the way she wants it. She chose to be here for her birthday. We're feeling very fortunate that she chose us for her birthday. There's other things going on by the Master Gardeners. Today, you will find, if you go to St. Elmo, there's a big celebration in St. Elmo. I think it's called Welcome or Hello St. Elmo. And there'll be a Master Gardener booth there today. We've got for all the fathers in our audience, and we welcome all of our Zoom people out there. All the fathers in our audience, happy Father's Day this weekend. Hope that you're going to be treated very well. If I need this.
Yes.
Do this one. I'll let. Okay. And when you came in, you notice that flowers out. Next weekend is the garden tour. Now, this is the 25th or 6th or almost a year. This has been going on. And we're going to follow the event in East Oregon area. So that as we always try to do each of the garden tours, we try to see to it that is in a close vicinity for that. And 3 of those gardens are actually Master Gardeners that are on the tour that they do. So please be sure that you put that on your calendar for next week. Now, the housekeeping rules, we have a restroom in the back of the room, and then if it's crowded and needed, and you can the hallway and or if anybody's restroom out there. But we do welcome everybody. And this is a little bit, our program today is a little bit different. Sometimes we talk about just the plants, but this is exceptional, but we're going to get plants and a little bit of history, which is always, I'll enjoy that myself. And we're going to have this, which is our speaker for today. She is a master gardener. She is also our red master. So you see all the things that's on where if you go on the MGHday.org, it's the one that is on there. So we get the favor, she said, those samples. She's also been several other careers that she has had in her time. And her husband is setting like that going. And the 2 of them were on vacation and they went to the summer. And but going through there, they discovered a lot of the plants and things they were showing, things that came from the Lewis and Clark expedition. So that's interesting. And she decided to do some more research and has found some amazing facts about plants And it's always good to know about plants that are unplanted, and that some don't go here, and I would always have to know most that we can. So without further ado, I can then Carol, and I'm sure all of you are going to enjoy it.
Good morning. Some days, from Master Garden, I recognize my friends for the garden. I have a big garden plot out there. And I absolutely adore gardening. A lot of the plants that I grow, I have no idea where they came from, how they got here. And when I started looking at Lewis and Clark, I realized how many plants we use today actually were sent back by Lewis and Clark to Jefferson, who tested them in his garden and shared them with other seed suppliers of the day. We are going to start by going back to 1804. And in 1804, just so you have some idea on the background, there were no cell phones, there were no cameras. The superhighway of the day was a gravel road. And the fastest way to travel was by boat if you were going along the current. So when Lewis and Clark were putting together their adventure, they had a very different set of parameters than what we would think of today. Anything west of the Missouri, they had no map. The only information they had was from fur traders who either trapped furs or purchased furs from those places. And they, the mail service was in effect, but it stopped at the Mississippi River. So they knew once they went into the Louisiana Purchase, it was like going to Mars without any communication. They had to take everything with them that they needed. Now they couldn't hunt, but they had to pack other supplies. They needed guns if they were going to hunt, and they had to take ammunition with them as well. So we'll go into that a little bit more, but they had to think about it, that they were going to be somewhere, let's say in Alaska, with no communication and no supplies for at least a year. Looking at a map. Okay, the yellow portion was the part of the United States in this time frame. So as you can see, you've got Philadelphia, Washington, Pittsburgh, and this was all known, mail service here. When you got past the Mississippi River, which starts the purple, this is the Louisiana Purchase in all purple. And it was purchased by Jefferson in 1803. And the purchase was to follow the Missouri River from the Mississippi all the way up to the headwaters of the Missouri. That was going to determine the border with Canada. So their path, they started here in St. Louis, moved to they had Fort Wood. As he was packing supplies, well, anyway, Lewis was trained by Thomas Jefferson to know science and surveying. And he sent Lewis to Philadelphia to learn from the finest minds about botany, zoology, map making, medicine. I mean, he had to be the whole package because he was the only one that was educated out of all of the corps. He was a second lieutenant who had risen to captain before he was tapped as Jefferson's secretary. And he really wanted to go. So Jefferson buys this tract of land from the French. It had been deeded to the Spanish, and then the French took it back, and they gave it to they offered to sell it to Jefferson. Jefferson had a vision that the United States would go from sea to shining sea. And he was working towards that goal as he bought the museum. purchase. So he sends these guys in there and they have no map, they have nothing to go by except what the fur trader said. What was the Lewis and Clark expedition about? It was learning what this purchase was. What was the goal? Their goal was to map it, to find the headwaters so they knew how big it was, to to interact with the natives and find out what they were like that lived in this area. And first and foremost, they were supposed to find a water pathway to the Pacific Ocean. We will learn how they documented the planes. We learned where they went when they got each sample, and I'll show you a couple samples for each region. This is a map of who owned what territory at the time of Lewis and Clark. As you can see, the US didn't even go down to Florida. The Spanish owned everything that connected with the Gulf of Mexico except for New Orleans and the Mississippi River. The Oregon territory was not claimed by anybody. But you can see the Spanish owned quite a bit of what we now call the United States. Everybody understand this map? Okay. All right. Lewis had to organize the entire team. He had to decide what means of transportation, what had to be boats and one Missouri. He and Clark, who picked to be his other captain, had to choose men. They had to choose men who were able to live in the wilderness for at least a year. So they had a lot of the sons of the rich plantation owners come and say, sure. And they had to turn them down because they really just didn't need that kind of person. They had to purchase food. I mean, think about purchasing food for a whole year. They had to have guns and ammunition on getting the most recent best guns that they could. They needed a carpenter because if they built a structure, they needed someone to do that. They needed a blacksmith to repair the guns, and they needed tools. So they took a blacksmith furnace with them. Trade goods for the natives, clothing for the men, medicine to keep them well, and tents for men to sleep in. I'm wearing a mosquito t-shirt because mosquitoes were terrible in the river area. And they were so bad that there was one night that Lewis tried to get on the boat in order to write his journal for that particular day. And it was a choice between swatting himself, mosquitoes, or repeating. This is the fuel boat design trip. This one is in Nebraska City, here in the state. So many. But here I am standing on the keelboat. It was built in Steubenville, Ohio. He got there in May of 1803, and it took until August 31st of 1803 for it to be ready, because Lewis kept changing it. One of the things that he added, one of the things he added was right behind me, there's cubbies for men. So they could put their personal stuff in a cubby. And it also served that if they were under, so they could have something. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to ask.
I have a question. How many men went?
45 went initially. They spent the first winter at Fort Mandan, which I'll show you in a little bit. And they sent back all but 31 to go back, and some had disciplinary problems, some just decided they didn't want to go anymore. They were done, and so he sent back the rest of the men and sent back samples and things to send to Jefferson. So not all of them went all the way to the Pacific. The important thing to remember is that they all survived except one. The one who did not survive died of an appearance of appendicitis, and had he been in London or Paris or even New York, they couldn't have helped him, because in 1803, they had no way to help someone with appendicitis. And that gives you an insight into medical care at the time. Any other questions? The men that he picked included frontiersmen, people from the army who had served in wilderness areas. They found when they were at in the St. Louis area, they found a half Indian, half French gentleman who spoke French and English. So they took him as an interpreter. They knew they would run into French speaking traders along the way. They had to have skilled craftsmen, as I said before. They took Clark's man, Slade Gilbert, and he was a representative, I guess. But the Native Americans were fascinated by the stories. They had a dog who was a Newfoundland lab. He was a water dog, and I think Louis thought he would be a good rescue dog since they were going to be on the water quite a bit. And then Sacagawea. They found her at Fort Mandam, and I'll tell you more about her if you have questions about her. Supplies, just to give you an idea. They took beads and metals to trade with the Indians. This is their medicine chest. One of the most interesting things I thought that it included was they had a Peruvian bark. It's the bark of a tree that could be quinine. Because of all the mosquitoes, they took the Peruvian bark to relieve the symptoms of malaria. This emergency rations is a early rendition of bouillon cubes. It was called portable soup, and it was like a last ditch effort when you were really hungry. They had to have clothing, and each man received the military equivalent of 1 year's worth of clothes. They had to take instruments so that they could map things out properly, and they had a clock. They had a clock that would be able to stay stable as they went through the journey. Any questions on this one? Now we're going to look at how they documented the plants. This is an example of a dried plant. Some of the plants were lost, but they were collected in 4 steps. The first step is collection. Again, we weren't there in 1803. We don't know exactly how they were collected, but as they were going through the area, when they saw a plant they didn't recognize, they would pick it up. And whether they immediately put it into some kind of a press between paper as they were walking along, or if they waited until they got back to the boats, we really don't know. But eventually he would have had to have pressed it in a book and kept it pressed until it was dry. This is part of preservation, and putting it into a blotting book and keeping it pressed flat until it was dry, and then it could be attached to a piece of paper. This is an example of some of the notes that went along with the plant so that it was documented. Our example here is bear grass. Bear grass is one of the plants that was used by the Native Americans. This is a dried sample, and you can see different notes that different biologists have put with it.
I have a question.
Yes,
Did anyone sketch out the plants?
yes, and that's part of this part.
Coming up.
They had to write an excellent description of it. Both Lewis and Clark were really good at writing down a description of the plants. Some of the plant staples have been lost, but when they read the journals, botanists today can still pick out which plant it is based on the description by Lewis and Clark. Here you see an example of the notes that Lewis would have written. And I don't expect you to read his writing. I can't read it. But the important thing for you that you see in this is that they did write excellent descriptions of it. And if you look at this, the bottom right here, there is a basket made out of this bear grass. It was also called basket grass. And the Native Americans could weave these baskets so tightly that they could hold water. Native Americans were exceptional at taking what they had and making use of it so that it took care of their needs. The final step was illustration. Now, neither Lewis or Clark were artists, but they were able to draw sketches accurately enough that, again, modern botanists can go ahead and identify those points. Lewis died not too long after he returned from the expedition, and his plants, the documentation for them was taken over by a gentleman named Frederick Hirsch. And this is a drawing of the bear grass. And it is drawn by W. Hooker. Again, this is not Lewis and Clark, but just to show you what artists can do. And then if you go on to the next slide, this is an actual plant. So you can see how closely they were able to draw. Lewis did see this plant in canoes filled with this plant that were floating down the Columbia River when they got over in that area. And it was a trade good. So the Indians that lives in the mountains and those Indians would trade with the coastal Indians for this bear grass. We're now going to start looking at the different planting zones that they went through. And for each planting zone, I will show you two examples of plants that grow in that planting zone. And I'll tell you a little bit about that plant and if it was used by the Native Americans, how it was used. The first planting zone, well, we have the eastern deciduous forest, which includes us. We have the tall grass prairie. We have the high plains. Then when we get to the Rocky Mountains, that's the brown. At the Columbia Plains, we have the Pacific forest. As we go through these zones, the different kinds of plants were based on elevation. They were based on rainfall. And so we look at how these plants grew. And we'll go through that. First one we'll go to is the eastern deciduous forest. But I also want you to take a look at the path they took through these areas. Down here at the very edge, you can see the red line, and this is the Missouri River that they were traveling up, going through each of these regions. And out here to the Pacific. Any questions on that?
So where are they starting then?
Eastern decisions.
I'm sorry, where would that be?
I'll show you in the next slide.
Oh, okay, good.
It's an inland oak and hickory forest. It extends from southeastern Missouri down to Tennessee, east of Pennsylvania, and north of Michigan. We should all be very familiar with this type of habitat for plants. The rainfall here is 20 to 50 inches per year. And sorry, I just need my notes for a little bit of some of these details on the areas. There's okay. Anyway, as you can see, there's lots of trees in this area, very forested. Let's look at two plants from this area. The Osage orange. I always grew up hearing it being called a hedge apple. Because this plant they discovered right outside of St. Louis. They named it for the Osage Indians that are in that area. And they, the Indians used it because they found that the smaller branches were very flexible and they could use it to make bows. The settlers would use it because the smaller branches had thorns and they used it to line the hedgerows. I guess that's why we call it a hedge apple a lot of times today. That happened until barbed wire was invented. It's pretty confusing. Eastern cottonwood. Interesting plant. My husband and I used to have two of these in our backyard. They were 100 feet tall. We were scared to death every time we go in because it's such soft wood. The Native Americans, Lewis knew, used it to make open boats, and he thought that was its only use because it is such soft wood. But as they went through their trip, they ended up making the fort where they would spend their first winter out of cottonwood, and they ended up burning it for their to keep warm when they got to Fort Mandan. I think you're all familiar with cottonwood, with the little cotton parachutes that come down. Our yard used to be full of them. Also used the cottonwood to portage their canoes over the Great Falls in Montana. So even though Lewis thought that cottonwood would only be useful for one thing, was to make boats, they ended up using it for multiple things. Next region is the tall grass prairie. This is part of what is our current corn belt. The tall grasses were interspersed with wildflowers, and the next slide, the rainfall in this area is slightly less. It's 20 to 40 inches per year. There are trees in the stream and riverbeds and tall grasses in between. The transition between what we just had as the deciduous, eastern deciduous forests to the highlands. A couple plants that are here are, this should look familiar to you. This is called the Rocky Mountain. As I told you before, Lewis and Clark sent seeds back to Jefferson. Jefferson sent them to his friend who was a seed provider. And he would trade seeds with people in France, people in England, and he would cultivate them. And I think we call this one today fruit. Today I look at this plant and my brain says Cleomane.
Cleome,
Yeah. The Native Americans use this for food. They can eat seeds. They can boil down the young plants and they can boil down a plant and they can make a black dye stuff in their pottery. They could mash up the seed and make a powder and then make cakes out of it. So they use this plant in different ways. They also used it as a medicine to treat headaches, parts of it. So it had many uses to the Native Americans. They would allow it to grow wild in their cornfields in this region. And the documentation said that they think it was because that way they would have plenty of seeds for next year. They wanted to be sure.
It's also called kneaded bread.
Okay. Well, what I liked about learning about the plants that Lewis and Clark sent back was that so many of them we use today and we don't realize their name. This one is called field horsetail. As they were walking along, Lewis noticed that horses like to eat this stuff. It grows in the wet spots, the marshy areas along the riverbanks, but it is found throughout the northern hemisphere. It's difficult to get rid of because if you know what I mean by a rhizome, there's things that grass send out to produce. Those can go down as far as 6 feet. So once it gets in your soil, it's there. Now, on the plus side, this has been discovered to take care of the fungicide. In Great Britain, they use it to control things like damping off and powdery mildew in cucumbers and blight on tomatoes. This is the only plant in this family that's edible. And in Japan and Korea, they eat this. They eat those shoots in early spring. Any questions about this? Our next region is the High Plains. Scenery in this area is very dry. They get 10 to 20 inches per year. This is a picture my husband took of the highway. It's pretty much what we saw throughout the High Plains. It was October, so it wasn't green. But as you can see, it includes Nebraska, South Dakota, and North Dakota. And this is where they spent, in this region is where they spent the winter of 1804 to 1805. And like I said, I will show you something from that. A couple plants from this area that you might recognize. The purple coneflower. This is the narrow leaf purple coneflower, which is a cultivar that lives in this region, but it also lives in neighboring regions as well. And this is it blooms in, as we know, in late spring to early summer. Seeds, as I told you before, the seeds were sent from Fort Indiana back to Jefferson, so it would have been one of the ones that he could have had access to in his garden. Common sunflower, I think we see these everywhere. They were grown by the Mandan, Mukasa, and Arapara Indians in the area of, it's near Bismarck, North Dakota. And that's about where they spent their first winter at Fort Mandan. This sunflower was a vital part of their food sources. It provides 11 times the fat, 3 times the protein, and twice the dietary fiber of corn, which was their main crop. And this is Fort Mandan. These two doors right here are where the captains each had their own place to sleep, a room. It wasn't very big, it's probably about the size of the bathroom back there, for those of you who used it. And they, Sacagawea and her husband came to live with them at Fort Mandan, and they also had their own room. The enlisted men were here, and they shared a room with their sergeant. So there were 3 sergeants, and all the enlisted men assigned to that sergeant would be in the same room. I looked at those rooms and our guide said that the men probably slept in the attic because that's the only way there was room for everybody. They were here for about 6 months. They recorded temperatures as low as -40 degrees in this region. And I've always found it amazing that the Mukasa, Arapara, and Mandan Indians were able to grow enough food, not only for themselves in this hostile region where you get 8 to 10 inches of, or 10 to 20 inches of rain per year. And they're able to grow enough corn, beans, squash, and sunflowers, not only to feed themselves, but also to trade. They were huge in the area of trade. Any questions about Fort Mandan? It was made of cottonwood. Our next geographic region is the Rocky Mountains. When the Corps got to this area, they had expected their trip to last here, to be here maybe a week. And it took them about 2 weeks to get through. They didn't have enough food with them. They had an extra horse and an extra colt. They ended up slaughtering them just to be able to eat. When they got through the Rocky Mountains, they ran into the Nez Perce, and I'll get to that in a minute. Rainfall in this area is 10 to 40 inches per year. They have elevations up to 14,439 and above sea level, and that's for some of your high mountains. As they got through this area, like I said, it took them longer than they expected. They ran into the Nez Perce Indians. And those Indians fed them camas. Now they had been used to eating buffalo and elk, which is what they were able to hunt in the high plains. They get to the Rocky Mountains and there's no game. I think one day they got 1 rabbit for 30+ people. And that just wasn't enough. That's why they had to sacrifice the horse and the colt. When they got through the Rocky Mountains, they were starving. And the Nez Perce, they stumbled upon them and they took them in and they fed them these camas roots and also dried salmon. After starving, they really chowed down on those 2 items. Now, this camas fruit, if it's not cooked properly or you eat too many of them, it's kind of like eating too many prunes. You end up with flatulence. Yeah. So after going from a very non-fat diet to this oily fish and these camas roots that gave them the runs, they were sick for about a week, they were able to recover. But these are used, they can either roast them as I've got shown right here. Or they can boil them and it makes a syrup. They're widely used by many Native Americans, including the Nez Perce. The Cree and the Blackfoot tribes, and then one. They absolutely contributed to the survival of the crew. When they are roasted, these cannabis bulbs taste like a very sweet potato. Next is the scarlet via. This is a plant that was found in the mountains. It's, if you think of a dandelion, but the leaves on this plant are fern-like with silver specks and white hairs. And the first year, it's a rosette, just like a dandelion is. In the second year, it can bloom. And the leaves have a scent that give it a nickname of skunk flower. But the flowers, which you can see here, are kind of like a honeysuckle flower. And you can pull these off and suck it from right here, at the very beginning of the flower, and there's like a sweet, syrupy substance in there. They are mostly pollinated by long-term moths and hummingbirds. The next region is the Columbia Plains. Columbia Plains are very dry, very fairly flat area between the Cascades and the Rockies. And you can see from this picture that it's almost a desert, although that's not what the shows. See, some plants seem to live here anyway. Big sagebrush dominates landscape. Plants that live here, now this one, the fact that they associated it with this particular region where it's so dry, this is a root that the cord loved. It didn't give him the same reaction that the finch did, but it tasted very similar, like a sweet potato.
I have a question. Did Lewis and Clark name all these plants?
Yes. Yeah, Lewis and Clark, well, Lewis did all the naming
He named,
because Lewis was the only one in Ford who had any education. And he had been sent to Philadelphia prior to the expedition to work with a botanist so that he could learn all how to name things, how to put them in families and all that fun stuff. Now, I'm not trying to burden you with all of the Latin names, but he did name several of the plants after himself and after Clark. Even in the Latin. We really liked this one, and next I'm going to show you parts of the journals where they talk about this plant. It's got many names. It was used by lots of Native Americans in this area. The hard part for us, since we're not from that area, is identifying this exact plant. Same thing with the camas. The camas in this plant have other varieties that are very similar, but they have this. In the case of the camas, there's a white camas flower that's actually poisonous. So you don't want to go out in the wild and try to gather these. These are some of the mentions that the men made of this plant. Again, they're calling it by some of the names that Indians that they ran into. The Native Americans called it, they each had their own name for it. Guess we'll just kind of let you know when you want to go on to the next one.
Is that what we call narrow?
Is it very common? It's.
I don't know. Apparently the canvases, because the picture I took is from PETA. And it's obviously in big fields in the wild. But this one I don't think. On to the next geographic area, the last one, which is the Pacific. Oh wait, this is the second one in the dry area, the Western Service Berry, very close to a blueberry. See, it has white flowers and blue berries, and it is very difficult to identify. The fruit is edible, and again, there would be two. The last region in their Northwest was the Pacific Forest. Has anybody been out to Seattle or to Alaska? Like, and you see what this area looks like? It extends from Northern California into Alaska. It is extremely wet. Rainfall here is between 10 and 150, 30 and 150 inches per year. So it's very wet. There's a lot of ferns. I don't know if you can see, because this is a picture my husband took. This is all ferns. And when we went to Alaska, did not expect to see ferns. I did not think they would that hard, but I was quite surprised. The temperatures are mild, I think Seattle weather. Let's look at some plants from this area. The first is the cycas spruce. This is a conifer, of course. It is the fifth largest conifer in the world. It's the largest spruce, but other conifers that are larger than this are the giant sequoia, the coast redwood, the Bacardi, and the western red cedar. It can grow to almost 330 feet tall. They can live up to 700 years, but they're very fast growing, and you can't always tell how old it is by looking at its height. If it's chest high, you're looking at 16 feet around, which is more than my arms can squeeze. Because it grows in such a wet area, it doesn't establish deep roots. It establishes shallow roots that go out, but it makes it very susceptible to rainfall. And that we're going to look at this is Sandalberry. This is a member of the rose family. It's common out in the Pacific Northwest. It's a bramble. The berries are normally eaten by mammals and humans and birds, and they disperse the seeds very nicely. The animals that disperse the seeds the best are the grizzly and the black bear, because they can deposit 50,000 seeds in one pile of scat. So its leaves and small stems are eaten by herbivores like elk and deer and rabbits. It can provide shelter. The brambles can provide shelter for small animals, And the birds can also build a nest in this. The berries are red or yellow to orange. And any questions on this?
This is a silly question, find it. They determine which of these they could eat.
I'm assuming mostly by asking the Native Americans.
Repeat the question.
The question was, how did they know what they could eat and what they couldn't eat? And I'm assuming that they asked the Native Americans, because they didn't gather the pinch roots or the hemp roots. They bought them from the Native Americans, which was safe. They weren't gonna pick them if they weren't. Any other questions? Well, in conclusion, they gathered 178 plants along the way that were new to science. They all returned except the one man, which is amazing considering the level of medicine they had. I will tell you that they had with them, they were riding on the river and drinking river water all the time. And they had with them some doctor's Rush's pills. Any of you who have ever had to prepare for a colon scan, that's what Dr. Rush's pills did for you. So they would take those all the way, and that probably kept them from getting parasites from the river water. By the time they returned, I mean, they expected to be gone a year, maybe a year. By the time they got to the West Coast, their clothes were falling off of them. They, they were in so much rain and weather and everything. They make moccasins, their shoes were worn out, and they were probably all wearing elk skins by the time they got out there. The Native Americans in that area wore next to nothing, and at first it offended them, but then their clothes started rotting and falling off. The Native Americans had it figured out. When they went back, it took them a long time going out, of course. Once you've been there, it's much easier. And they had, like I said, they were all presumed dead, and they were all thrilled to death at the act of civilization 2.5 years. Wow. I don't know about you, I don't mind camping, but camping for 2.5 years. Oh, yes.
Did they encounter, say, and Native Americans that were not friendly.
Did they encounter any Native Americans that weren't friendly? Twice. The first time was when they were navigating up through probably, I don't know the exact state. Probably through whatever state is below, probably through South Dakota. They came into a group of Indians that controlled the trade on the river. And they talked to them about having a new father, that they were all going to get along and they were going to all trade equally. But that was the Sioux. And the Sioux wasn't happy about that because they were going to lose control of their monopoly there in control of the river traffic. So they had trouble getting away from the Sioux that day. Another time they were out, and I can't remember the tribe that it was, but they were out and they were camping with some Native Americans out in the West, and Native Americans tried to slip up and take their guns and their horses before dawn the next morning, and they figured out what was going on, and I think they ended up killing one Native American in that encounter. So yeah, there were twice. We also had Lewis had a run-in with a grizzly bear around the Great Falls area, but he was able to run back towards the river, and for some reason the grizzly decided not to follow him all the way. Maybe the grizzly found some easier target. Yeah.
When Jefferson fired, was there a financial arrangement?
They were promised each some land when each of the men received land. If you go back to the list of people who went, every man that went on the journey got, can't remember how much land, 100 acres or something like that. This is not a sizable amount of land that they got. And Lewis was to become the governor of Louisiana. And I can't remember what Clark was supposed to become, but they each had, you know, they got land in return. They were paid for the time that they went on the excursion or expeditions, based on army pay, based on their rank. So they got that, plus they got from like, but only two people that did not get land out of that. Sacagawea's husband did get land, but she did not. And York, Clark's manslave, also did not get land. Now he later got his freedom. And I don't know which would have been more valuable, but those were the only two people who did not receive that compensation. Any other questions? Yes.
So you listed and described, I think I counted 12 plants. And so, how did you decide ones to introduce to us today out of those 175 new ones that they discovered?
I tried to, this was the primary book that I used. Oh, how did I decide on what plants to show? This is the book I used primarily. It's called Plants of the Lewis and Clark Expedition. And it divided everything up by these growing zones. Which was really helpful. And then I went through each zone and picked out a couple of plants. I mean, there's lots of plants that I couldn't find a lot of documentation on. I wanted to find things that were interesting about the plants that I was going to share with you. Either the Native Americans system or we found uses for them today. And so I kind of went by that. But yeah, this is the book I used primarily. I've also, which I will pass out, and I'm sorry for the Zoom people that they can't smell it. I took an example of the sage, which I told you the sage was very prevalent in that one region, and sweetgrass. These are both used in Native American ceremonies, but if you smell those, you can really smell the difference.
Did you make them?
No, I bought them in the shop.
There,
Yes, one of the Lewis and Clark centers. How many did we go to, dear?
We basically retraced the trail from Seattle back to St. Louis after losing family in Seattle. I think we visited either 8 to 10 of the major museums or historical sites. There are others we would like to see, but I was wearing a boot, so I couldn't walk.
Okay. What I was going to say is that we still were 8 to 10 different Lewis and Clark sites. We basically visited family in Seattle and we stopped along the way back. When we got to Montana, one interesting story is we were driving along and there's nothing and nobody. And there's a tiny little town with maybe 2 houses, and we're looking for something to eat. It's like 11 o'clock. So we come to that town and we realized when I looked at the map that it's nothing for at least another hour. So I said, no, we better turn down. And we went down and it was a saloon style restaurant and and we walked in and everybody's wearing camouflage because we were there in the community. It was hunting season. And so it was like, well, they know who the out of towners are, but the food was excellent. But literally it's the middle of nowhere. If you do drive through there, make sure you have a road-worthy car, because finding a gas station is hard enough. Any other questions? Yes.
is it an established route that you take?
There are many books. Oh, sorry, the director is telling me to question. Is this an established route? Yes, there are many books that say nothing, but this is the route you can take. You can also go online, there are many websites that tell you different spots where Lewis and Clark stay. There's even one site that is just dedicated to Sacagawea. I'll tell you a 2-minute story about Sacagawea. She was a young girl. Her family was in the Shoshone tribe. And when she was about 12, she was kidnapped by the Picasso up in North Dakota. They came over and they kidnapped her and took her back to Dakota. When she was about 15, she married, please forgive my French because I'm not very good, Chauvinot, I think was her husband. And she was pregnant when she met Lewis and Clark. She delivered her child during the winter of 1804, 1805. And that is the baby that she took with her on the trip west. She served two purposes. Unbeknownst to Lewis and Clark, Native Americans did not take women into battle. And so they knew it was not a war party because you got this woman and child. When she got to the Shoshone Nation to translate, they needed horses from Shoshone. And she got ready to translate and she walks up to the chief that she's supposed to translate from. And she hugs him and wraps her cloak around him. It turned out to be her brother. So there were coincidences. The reason the Nez Perce fed the Corps when they came out of the mountains, they could have easily overpowered them. They were so weak. But the Nez Perce had an older woman who lived with them, who had been living with some white people within her life. And she said they treated her very well. And so she wanted to make sure that these explorers were also treated well. So the Nez Perce took them in and fed them. So they had a lot of, in addition to the bad experiences they had a lot of good experiences with the Native Americans. Any other questions? Seeing none, I will tell you real briefly, I brought along the prairie dog because that is one of the animals that they discovered. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Carol. We do. So we got Carol has been number 21. That's Jane Pickles. This is Jane. So we thank you so much for coming, and next month we will have Peter Nekovich and Markovich. I never can say the name. Right here, but it will be on Bryce's bed, and it's going to talk about the fall that you use and a lot of things about the status. It's been a very interesting program, and I think that you'll enjoy that. See you next week, and don't forget the garden tour next weekend. Be sure that you can visit the gardens, and the money that we collect for that goes to ships, things that we give for the students. So if you want to go, okay. Thank you.
It's a change.